Welcome to our first modelling video, and what we're going to be doing in this little video is having a look at this concept of live modelling. So first question I just want to pose for you is, how often do students write in your class? And what we find is that in many lessons across the school, then writing is actually the most common activity that those students are going to be undertaking. And when we get them to do this, we're actually expecting them to do that without really giving them this explicit guidance on how to be successful in that. You know, we might give them some pointers here and there about a particular character to include, or, you know, reference that data, or don't forget to make reference to that source at the top there. But do we actually explicitly tell them how they should write that answer? Or do we just expect them to somehow know how they should structure it, how they can actually improve the vocabulary that they're using? All of these little kind of tiny details that go into a really successful answer, have we explicitly told them about that? Or do we just somehow expect they've picked it up? And then when they finish that bit of work, do we then look at these answers and sometimes sit back and think, oh, come on, how on earth did you not manage to structure it in this particular way? But is that their fault? Or does it actually come back to we didn't give them a clear enough explanation about those tiny little details to do? And is there a better way to approach this? Well, the answer is yes, there is a better way to approach it so that we can support them in actually getting higher quality answers on the bit of paper. And that solution is something called live modelling. Now, one of the things that we actually did with the COVID catch-up money that came in from the government a couple of years ago was we ensured that every classroom in the school has a visualiser. And if you don't have a visualiser in your classroom, then email me, let me know, and obviously we can have a little look and see if we can source you one. But the reason we invested that money in ensuring every single classroom in the school had that visualiser is because we know how effective live modelling can be as this strategy to move students forward in their learning, to ensure they can actually structure these answers properly and not lose those marks just based on something we can work on every day that we have them in front of us in our lessons. So how does it work? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to get your visualiser, you're going to set it up on the desk, and then on your desk you will have whatever your question is that you are going to answer. Then you, as the teacher, are going to sit there with your pen and you're actually going to answer it. So your answer is going to obviously be handwritten under that visualiser so they can see it appear as you do this. And as you're actually answering this, the idea is that you talk through your thinking process. So it's not just they all sit in silence and watch you write in silence. That's not really effective. But if you are sitting there going, okay, let's read this question. Now, as I'm reading the question, I've picked out the command word is explain. That means I know that I'm going to make a point and then I'm going to follow it up, in my case, with a scientific explanation of that. Then you come on to the actual answer and then you say, okay, what I need to do is start with my introduction. In this, what I need to ensure is the following. And you're really talking them through that finer detail. Now, what that means is our students are able to sit, they can see your answer appear, they can see that someone can do this. This isn't some kind of weird mystical art that people do in back rooms. They are watching it happen in front of them. And they can hear that sort of justification of the decisions you make, the way you're thinking through, the way to approach that particular question. Now, I know what some people are probably thinking, is this just for writing subjects? You know, I'm not going to sit there and write an essay in my subject. It works in every subject. I can't think of a subject where the visualiser and live modelling doesn't work, to be honest. If I'm wrong, feel free, email me, let me know. The reality is that you can use that visualiser to live model any activity. If we're talking DT and you want to show them how to make a particular cut, for example, in some wood, then you can have it under the visualiser to show them how to do that, rather than trying to get an entire class forming a circle and not everyone can see. In science, you can use it for the demonstration of how to use the equipment at the front before we let them loose with chemicals. One of my wanders around the school recently, I actually was in a maths lesson and I saw the teacher with the question paper and they put their calculator under the visualiser. So rather than sitting there going, what you want to do is find the shift button, then push this, it's literally there in front of them. They, in theory, all have the same calculators, or at least similar calculators. So when you're modelling it under the visualiser, they can see exactly what buttons they should press in what sequence. So it works in every subject, folks. One of the concerns I know teachers have is, well, what if I'm doing this and I just don't know what comes next, or I just have that mental block of what should I write here, or what's this word I'm trying to think of? Well, my answer to that is good. I'm glad that you've hit that problem. It shows that it's not all straightforward and easy all the time. Sometimes even us as the experts are going to have those moments where that answer's not flowing perfectly, or you're sitting thinking, oh, what is that word I want to use? And they can see the struggle and they can see how you approach it, because I'm pretty sure you're not just going to sit there and go, oh, what's that word? Oh, I don't know, I give up and that's it. You walk away. Of course not. We will think about it. If we can't think of that exact word we're going for, we'll come up with another one that might work just as well. And seeing those mistakes even, is part of that learning process that our students need to see, because all too often they think if you can't do it perfectly first time, don't do it at all. And we've got to break that mentality in them. So what next? Is that it? We just kind of put the visualizer on, do this little answer, away we go, experts made? Of course not. Once we've gone through one of these live modelling sessions where we're the leaders, we're going to be talking them through the whole process, start to finish, then you can move on in a future time to actually give them the similar question or a completely different one, and then you're still going to be constructing that answer, but you're going to use questioning to get that class to help you construct it. So you can then target questions at them. So, you could go, Johnny, tell me how I should start this sentence. Or Amber, give me a way I can link this idea to the next. You can then get the class involved, and then as they're giving you those suggestions, you put it into the answer for them. My final thought is something that I've actually found to be really beneficial in science with our 6-mark questions in the past. Because that 6-mark question always tripped up our kids in science. However, I can guarantee there's probably a style of question in every subject that kids find tricky year after year. So rather than having to do something new every single time, why not record it? You can find yourself a quiet time after school, break time with your visualizer, and you can work through it just recording it as you go, and then you can save that video. Because in that video, you are going to have all those key steps to ensure a successful answer. You can point out all those little points that they should include, any little key aspects that they forget all the time that you want them to remember. And then if it's as a video, you can just share it somewhere for the students to access at their leisure. So mine are on my YouTube, but it's up to you. You can put it on a Google Drive and just send them the link. You can build this little bank of those common questions and problems that can then be answered. You can share that with your classes then year after year, and they've got this fabulous resource that they can drop into and hopefully use to their effect. As I say, if you don't have a visualizer, let me know and we'll obviously sort that out, because live modelling is something that I think everyone should be using more in their lessons.